Well, it's Lue from Lue Paints. I'm the miniature painting coach, and we're going to continue painting our miniature. Where's it? Okay, right, it's over here. I keep forgetting where I place it, like every other time, because I'm tend to get really messy with my desk occasionally. Even though it seems organized, it's never really as organized as I would like it to be. All right, so what are we going to do today? First off, if you're new to the video, here's the format. This is the main camera right here. Then after that, here is the color wheel. It should pop up right about sometime. That camera right over here is so that you guys can see my hand. What's listed down here is for the brushes and the paints that I use. And well, this is the miniature that I'm currently painting. Is the Bretonnian Sorceress. Is that cat hair? Oh no, like it's actually a part that isn't painted. Okay, so we are going to continue painting our miniature where we left off, because we were painting the face for the last few sessions, and I would like to get that moving along a lot more coherently. So now that we have the definition for the face that we want on this model, we need to build. Wait a minute. There's a lack of darkness towards the right top side of the miniature, I believe. If we can really zoom in and see that. Yeah, there is a lack of darkness towards the right side of the face. So let's just go ahead and douse that first. But after we do that face, we're actually going to define the chest area, because that's the next place which most people are going to look at. So we will need to really define that part of the miniature, and you're just gonna make sure to not have too much ink as we're doing this. The biggest problem with painting this miniature I found, especially the face, has all to do with the fact that this staff is constantly in the way, right? So I kind of had to pivot my movements in. Is that enough? No, it's not. I'm gonna have it another go. Although it's actually really as bright as it is, and I would like to have a small white annotation on the top. So let's just have it another go. There we go. There we go. So you can see that she's looking towards the right. Well, she has this blaze up. Okay, so let's move on to the rest of the miniature now. That chest. It's nice, but it's not to the quality that I like, particularly because there's too much of the same color. So there's lack of a transition, and I mean, human skin is it's interesting. It's specular, and what it means is that as we shift our angles, the color is supposed to swap around. So we need to make sure to allow that to happen with this miniature as well. So let's just kind of go close for now, and kind of define where our shadows should be, how we want to define it. So if we just kind of tilt our angles right over here from the top, we can kind of see where part of her breast area is not supposed to be hit by light and which side it is. So we can kind of see it from this direction that there is going to be some brightness on some parts, and then that's going to be covered up by the rest. So we can leave certain parts that's going to be reflected by the cloth, but there'll be areas like underneath her breast right here which is going to be a lot darker, and we're actually going to do that first. So let's just grab our inks again, and you see me closing the inks and opening it up once pretty often, and that's because inks dry up really quickly. You can't really write this ink, right? Because it's the kind of ink that I'm using, and I'll have to make sure to cover the cap every once in a while, just like alcohol markers. You need to do that too. because if you don't, like, it's going to ruin your bottle, and especially the one that's kinda the ink that I have on this cap. So I'm just gonna place that black ink there to kind of really get that black going on, and then kind of remove it in a small step. Okay, let's wipe it off, and then let's just go ahead and add our shade here, which is a couple of inks that I've been using as well, artist inks. And let's kind of tilt this model down so we can have a better look at the colors without that wet palette kind of giving us color bias. Okay, now where else should we work on? So what is color bias? Well, so the human eye is a very fascinating thing. We actually get tricked into thinking one color is not what it's made of, and by that sense is that if I were to zoom out, so I'm going to zoom out, and we can see that the color of her dress is green, right? So we can see here, for example, the color of the dress is green. But when we zoom in, and we zoom in really close, wait a minute, there's blue annotations, right? There's yellow, and there's moments that is even purple all the way here. And this is what creates a realistic looking green. So it doesn't look green all the way. And this is something that, as a new painter, if you don't understand enough about color theory, you kind of look at a whole piece of material and you just use one kind of paints, and so like it isn't believable. Now, if you want to paint like Marvel or like Nintendo or any other cartoony effect, that's fine. However, during the transitions, you still need to obey this rule to some extent in order to make it shift and pop out into the realm of the believable, so that it's using enough rules from creating something realistic that impacts the viewer or the perceiver of the miniature so that it looks realistic. Now, okay, well, theory aside, what does that have to do with color bias? Well, when you look at something that's red, something that's green is not going to look as green because they're contrasting colors. And the more you look at one contrasting color, it really overblows the contrast. So it's like, okay, if I put this green next to this blue is not going to pop out, and this blue and this green is going to compete because they're too close in the color spectrum, in the spectrum of where humans can perceive color. But if you put red next to it, then this green is going to pop out to an extent or be dimmed down based on the degree and the value of that red, right? And without making things overly complicated, what it essentially means is that the human eye always gets tricked. We get tricked constantly all the time in being able to judge color, and so we sometimes need to look away, or in my case, as I'm doing this OSL effects, I need to constantly change the angle to make sure that what I'm looking at, the color, is of its very nature and the value that I place the paints down. Alright, so anyways, let's continue on, and let's kind of do that breasts area. Okay, so we can see that there's a lot of white and I don't like that. So we are going to take our palette, and then we are going to mix, let's just pull a palette here from home. We're going to mix the magenta here, and then we're going to put it in here to make it a little bit more ratio. Take our skin color, put it here, so we get this nice little color change. Okay, so now we're going to put on this this pink, just a bit on both sides, like so. And I'm putting really little because I'm going to feather it out with some medium. So we are going to make that color shift a little bit more natural. So you can see how that the cleavage is kind of sank down to the recesses, which is what we want. So we just kind of dab it over there and let the paint, the glaze do the work for us, so that when we look at it from this angle, it looks like, oh, okay, there's some skin down there. We can see cleavage over here as well, but it should be really dark. So we're gonna add this this annotation of darkness. Take a bit of our black inks, just one spot is more than enough. We're gonna actually draw out this line, like right so, right, and that's actually more than enough. We're gonna take our ink, oops, and then let's make sure to push this away, and make sure to, now why am I not showing my wet palette all the time? Well, for me personally, I come from an art background, and I do understand that some miniature painters rely on looking at some of these wet palette to paint, by seeing the steps, but really it does not give you as a painter the opportunity to exercise your ability to learn how colors work with one another. When you depend too much on things like what paints you use, how much should you tint, and all these such things, you're pulling your attention and focus away from making the thing look real, which is more important. At the end of the day, you're just really interested in making the thing look cool, making the thing receive better, read better, be more presentable, things like that. And no amount of instructions of paint will make it will make that real, because it's always going to be different. It depends on the lighting of which the miniature is going to be exposed under. So if this miniature is going to be displayed underneath yellow light, for example, then it's going to not have the same effect. So back when I used to do Transformers painting for myself and sometimes for others, I realized that a lot of these guys, they display their Transformers, whoops, let's get here, underneath yellow light. And so it makes no sense for me to kind of OSL yellow light. Well, I mean, we didn't call it OSL back then. But if I did do it in that way, essentially what happened with that, it would make the Transformer look ridiculously yellow, and that wouldn't help. So, and when painters who want to emulate that, or copy, I would rather say, that kind of those kind of instructions for how you want to paint your toy or your sculpture or miniature, if you go it down like dime by dime, you won't have a satisfactory result, because essentially you're copying something that just makes no sense for your own situation, right? And maybe copying and kind of having a miniature in your case is what you want, because you want to get it speedily out of the way. You want to have something that's more based on a lore, and you and your friends and your clique do use a very particular kind of a lighting for your miniatures. Like, I think most people, they kind of put it under white light, I'm not sure. But you see, when you go into that realm, if you're painting to improve, like what I'm doing, I'm painting to improve, and I'm painting so that I can put myself out there and compete for attention among the other painters in our industry, then what essentially I'm doing is that I'm actually kind of like competing with the same viewership of miniature painters, and that of miniature painters, and that's not cool. It's not cool for the artists who are around my range of skill, in order to have more, how do you say this, more audience to ask them for their paint job, right? Because if there's too much supply, right, of people actually painting the same thing, then it really lowers the value of what each painter will do. So, like, why compete in the same field of a painting style when you can just kind of paint something uniquely and differently, because it's essentially what I prefer. Hey, so that's my cat. She had surgery not long ago and I can't really leave her alone. So I'm really thankful for you guys for kind of putting up with her being around and her meowing. If that's a problem to you, to me, it's really not an issue. Okay, so now working with the shadows, I'll need to bring this ink back here and be really careful about it. One dot, and that's more, that's way too much. I need to bring a bit of this pink. We want to make sure to get this gray going on. So you can see I'm now just wet blending this black ink in this gray here. Black ink in this skin that I've kind of painted. Right, and we just kind of do it like this. And then we're gonna add a little bit more of that that brown antelope mixed in with purple, I believe. Can't remember. Okay, then we just kind of go at it like so. Hey, Bache. She's very conversive with me. Okay, now I need to add a annotation of darkness towards this lip, right? And that will help bring out a little bit. And then I will need to add a little bit of darkness towards this side of the nose. Just a very tad bit. Come here. Come my feet. Come here. Sam, lift you. Okay, anyways. Personal needs aside, let's kind of correct that skin, because there are parts of the skin that are way too dark in there. So let's just make sure to get that out of the way. Right? So let's just have it in here. Pop. In a little bit more. Okay, over here. We want to make sure to add a nice little shine. We want to build this breast that we're looking at from the left up to white, but in little steps to kind of show that she's a fair maiden, I guess, maybe perhaps even untouched. I'm not quite sure what the Bretonnian lore is, but I do know that it's a human association that we somehow add virtue towards virginity, I think, in most cultures, especially all cultures. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry first. You can see that the breast now actually has a range, and it's not matching up with the face quite yet, so we will remedy that as we go along. But we do need to get rid of small little parts like this yellow that's down here. So we need to add a magenta here, magenta claws over here as well, and then we will slowly build that into the rest. Okay, then we can see that there's a nice little gradient. Okay, let's add this as well on top of the rest so we can get the color right. We still have 10 more minutes. Hopefully we can cover the other side too. Over here is necessary. And then we'll take white. We'll put white here. Small notations of white under these areas. Okay, over here as well. And then you want to make sure to blend out that this part. Like so. Downwards. So that we have that curvature. You guys should be able to see that. And we do want to blend in together these areas here. Okay. Want to put it over here as well. Over here. Up towards the neck. We want to build it up. And then we are also going to blend it down as well. Just a little bit of there we go. Right. Shift it out this way. Nice. We are getting that area around the chest where you can see the shapes of the muscles. Let's see. That's good. That's good. We just need to make sure to go at the how we're doing once we let that dry. Then go over it with a glaze of skin. Now over here it needs to be a bit darker. It's way too filled with magenta right now. I'm gonna double check to see if it's able to see that darkness. No. So we know that that's the right way to do it. And then we are also going to add black because it's important. So we're going to add that black in here. Okay. So let's put really black. And there we go. You have that nice little chest, and we need to, of course, bring in some. Do we need to actually? Yeah, we actually need to filter it with some skin color, really softly, really softly. Okay, add some more medium. We need to actually add a lot of medium for the skin in order to shade everything together. Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna put it down here as well. Okay, and looks like I'll have to pause a moment. Sorry for that, because apparently this phone ran out of storage. I didn't realize that, so had to just kind of give it a just kind of delete some of my old stuff and make room for the video. Okay, so right now as it is, the faces are working really well for us. Maybe there needs to be whoops. Let's just kind of look at it over here for a moment. How's that chest area doing? Ah, there's a missing component. I have found it. I have found mistakes. Okay. Which is this area right here. This area needs to be a lot lighter. A lot lighter. Because if we kind of look at it from over here, that's the shape that we have. In fact, we may have to delete some of the shading from the other side. So let's kind of do that now. That's good. Let's keep going. Oops. So sorry. Okay. And then we want to make sure we get this area as well. There we go. And then we're gonna add a little bit more. Place it over on this side. All right, and can do it like this. And we will need to add one more annotation of lighting because we still have that one line over here. Okay, because it's important for us to get that light at the back here so that we can sneak that in like so. See that? That's way better. Okay, now over here as well. Okay, let's see if we can kind of see the change in the skin tone. Yep, that is way more accurate. So we are also going to blend out this part really carefully with the transitions. Okay, you can see how that's the transitions for the neck is fine. And we are also going to add a annotation down here. Right, over here as well. About here. Okay, and so we have gotten most of that darkness corrected. Let's just go ahead and do a little bit more. Okay, and I hope you guys are enjoying the way I'm showing my process. That perhaps it is coming off as proper, right? So let's just gonna put a dot down here. To kind of show that there's a little bit of a bright gleam, which we will die down. There we go. Just enough. Okay, and then we will of course remove a little bit just so we can get what we want. Okay, so you can see here that now the face area is really done pretty well, and the chest as well. Oh wait, we forgot one reflective area. It's always something to improve on. I could just keep going on forever at this rate. It's crazy. Okay, like so. So you know we get the skin bounces off, the skin is very reflective. We want to make sure that underneath here as well. Okay, so that's that. Let's kind of take a good look at our miniature from this distance. It's way better. I'm genuinely happy with how the chest is. There's still a little bit of things that we could do, and we'll patch it up and we'll add the patterns that I want around the collar for the next episode. Now, okay, thank you for following me on this journey thus far, and I'm going to continue finishing up this model. To Lue.